So guys, I already told Jack this is where I wanted to start. But the story of your first day with the team, Diego, is kind of legendary. Flying into Los Angeles, playing against the Galaxy. I want to start with Jack. That was, I believe, the 4th game of that season. Timbers had yet to lose yet. What do you remember of the first day with Chara as a Timber?
I guess I would probably let him lead that story more than me about what he remembers from the first day. Obviously, we had a lot going on. I was still relatively new to the team, getting traded, I believe, March 1st of that 2011 season. To be quite honest, I don't remember the story of him coming in and playing that first day. I'm sure there's a lot more emotions on his side and stories behind it all. But for me, I remember being excited because the coaching staff and talking to Gavin and them, they're pretty high expectations. And with the young team that we had, even though, Diego, you were probably in your, 26, so mid-20s. God, dude, you're older than I thought you were now.
I expected a lower number there, too.
I was thinking like 24 or something.
I know.
But
we should. You can go ahead and lie here.
Yeah.
This is a club podcast.
But in his mid-20s, still came with a lot more experience than what we had on our roster. We were an expansion team. I think part of bringing me in at 29 years old was to get some experience, some veteran leadership in, and so to hear that another guy was coming on board in a similar role to me was exciting because we needed some more of that. We needed some guys to learn what it was like to be a pro, and through my time with Diego, learned that he does things the right way. There's a reason that he's been here for so long and as consistent as he is, and that's because he's a leader by example. And so I didn't know that from day one, but you could see that early on when he came on the team. Unfortunately, when we look back and we're talking about this game yesterday, I don't think that game went very well, especially the first 8 minutes or 9 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a special player and a special talent that we were lucky to get in that first season.
Yeah, Diego, I was talking to Jack about this yesterday and kind of saying, I think I want to start with Diego's first day with the team, and I wonder what the score was of that game. He and I both, I can't remember. I think it was 2-1. It was 3-0, and Landon Donovan scored in the 2nd minute of the game. What do you remember about that day?
Was weird because I flew the day before the game, and after have the possibility to play in the second half, and for me, from my experience before that, was weird because I never do that kind of thing, and I think was hard because the team was playing well before the Galaxy game, and they come to US, the MLS, the first game, and lost 3-0. For me was weird and was hard. But when I came, I think I saw a great team, good people, and they helped a lot. I think Jack, he was really patient with me, and Jorge Perlaza, he was the other Colombian in the team. And I think that gave me confidence and try to do the best for the team.
The interesting thing that I know about Coach Spencer, and I didn't know this before I came here, but coming in March 1st, and I went directly to Seattle for a preseason tournament, was that if he believed in you and he trusted you, he was going to throw you into the fire. And so whatever scouting or whatever they did on Diego, they realized that, hey, no matter what happens if he flies in the day before, we're getting this guy on the field. And I think it was good for all the team. Again, everyone was still figuring each other out in that first year of expansion. And so to have him on the field in that second half, like you mentioned, I think they scored a couple early goals on us, so it helped stabilize that match a little bit, to say the least.
We were joking yesterday thinking about players like Chris Boyd, Steve Smith, who came in the next year, how they pretty much went straight into how John always seemed to like his new toys. Used to romanticize them a little bit. But at the same time, back in that game, I'd just been like, hell, we're not winning this one. Diego, get out there. Let's see what you can do.
Well, the reality now is that you can have a roster that's a little bit deeper than you could in 2011. So the 2019 rosters, it's great to see that, when we play an Open Cup game or, you go deep into a roster, you can field another 11, a second 11, if you will, that's going to be competitive. Because back then, it would have been a really, really young team. And Timbers 2 wasn't around to pick players from, and the academy wasn't established. And so there's all these different mechanisms now that we can pull from that we didn't have back in the early years. So it literally was, a small roster of inexperienced guys that hadn't gotten a lot of MLS or professional experience.
Diego, Jack was one of the most experienced guys on those early teams. What did you learn about the league and the United States from having to deal with Jack Jewsbury?
I think I learned a lot from Jack Jewsbury in the first couple of years. I think Jack was a great example, work hard every day, and he was a leader too. And like I said before, he was really patient, and he'll help to adapt well to the new players to the team. And I think that's nice from Jack. And maybe I never mentioned that to him, but I'm very, very pleased with him, because I think that helped a lot for me and the other guys to came to Portland Timbers, and learn a lot from him.
What about from your point of view, Jack? Obviously, you talked about how excited you were to get somebody like Diego in the team, but there's also the recognition that this guy is coming to a new country. Mm-hmm. He's never been part of this league before. What was that like from your point of view, kind of being brought in to be expected to be one of the people that guided this team forward?
Yeah, I mean, it was really the first time that in my career, I had been in Kansas City for 8 years, and throughout my years there, started out as a rookie, and you look up to some of the older veteran players and that had more experience than you, and you tried to do things the right way and kind of follow their lead. And so for me, coming to Portland was interesting, because now I was that guy that was supposed to lead by example and show the younger guys or the new guys the way to go about things, and at least my way to go about things. I'm not, and Diego's very similar. We're not rah-rah guys. We're not super loud in the locker room. But both of us go about our business in a very similar way. We try to be as consistent as we can be on the field for, the club, the organization, and teammates and fans, for everyone. But you're probably not going to hear as much vocal leadership as you will just doing things in the right way. And so, I think the first thing that I learned about Diego when he came, one was that I was glad he was playing next to me and not against me, except for in training, wearing no shin guards. I've still got a few marks from him.
A couple times.
I was happy he was on my side, and I think, also there's something to say about guys that come into the league, and you've seen this throughout my years, whether that's here in KC, is that certain guys come in and they're bought in to what they're doing, and whether that's what they show on the field, off the field, with their family, in the community, or just learning the language. And he showed a real commitment to that. He's doing an interview right now in English after being in the city for a few years. And so he realized that coming into a team at that time that the majority of the players spoke English, that for him to be ingrained into the group and into the locker room, he needed to do that. And so when a guy comes in to do that, it's easy to buy into that and want to rally around him. And I think, he's seen that now with this team. When I watch from the stands now, I always tell people that I'm with, if they're not soccer fans, just watch number 21. The way he buzzes around the field, the way he fights for his teammates, the way he kicks the other team in the right moments is fun to watch. And it's different than when I was playing beside him, because, hey, as I was aging, he was getting more experience. So I needed Diego Chara a lot to help me out. But I think, we knew each other's roles. We knew how each other played and how to complement each other. And it was definitely a great relationship in the middle of the park for the years that we played together.
Diego, let me ask you this, and then Jack, I'm going to ask you the same question. When you think about your time playing with Jack, is there a game that stands out most?
I think playing with Jack for me was a great experience because it was easy to adapt. I think Jack, when I played together, he enjoyed to have the opportunity to go to join the attack. I think he scored a lot of goals for the team when he has the freedom to go to the attack. And I really enjoy that because our chemistry on the field and off the field was great. And I was very, very happy to have the opportunity to play with Jack.
He's way too nice.
Jack, when I think of Diego's best games, I think of his 2-goal performance against Seattle.
Yeah.
Is there a game that stands out to you as far as the time where you were on the field and kind of like, holy crap, I'm playing with that guy right now?
Yeah, I think that holy crap moment is happening more now that I'm not on the field, because I see the space that he covers. Not the biggest guy in the world, but the way he uses his body to me is absolutely incredible. And maybe that's just growing up, being smaller and having to adapt to be able to play the way he does. To me, that's incredible. So, of course, the Seattle performance sticks out to me. Was that on your birthday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that part of it.
The birthday performance.
I think the combined distance on those goals was like 70 yards, too.
So, again, and Diego touched on it, I grew up a striker in my early days, so I like to go forward. I know Diego likes to run and he likes to go forward, so we complemented each other well. But that game definitely sticks out to me as that I could, as the game. But I think the beautiful thing about Diego is that it's a consistent performance every game. And if you ask the opposite question, what's a game where Diego played really bad, I wouldn't be able to answer that. And I think that's a tribute more to his consistency and his professionalism than anything.
Diego, if I were to ask you beyond the field, what's it like to be a teammate with Jack Jewsbury as a person? What would you say?
He's a great person. I think we never had the opportunity to share big moments of the field. When we had teammate meetings, everything with the team, I think he always was a great person. We talked a little bit. I think the year before he got retired, in the last dinner with the team, we talked a little bit about his plan after retire. And I think that's Jack always was open to talk with everyone in the locker room, and I think to me that means a good people, a good person.
Yeah, you guys played from 11 to 16 together. Pretty much the same position, some fullback mixed in there.
Yeah.
And you guys were here
the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And you guys were here for the formative years of this club's MLS experience. I don't have a question here. I'm just looking at that, and it seems like a very special time to share because, particularly in this league, it's rare to spend 6 years in one place. Jack has been able to do it twice. It's rare to spend 6 years in one place with the same person playing the same position, and you're both are going to be remembered as the leaders of the team during that time. I guess just to put it into a question, does that seem special to you?
Yeah, it's definitely special. I mean, there's not many guys that were in the locker room in 2011 and 12, and we were just talking about this a little bit before we came on the air. They can experience some of the lows that we experienced, especially in 2012, and then to experience the joys of the success that we had, right? The first year making the playoffs and winning the Western Conference in 2013, or obviously the big one in terms of 2015, winning MLS Cup. But for the guys that were here and went through all the ups and downs, so for myself and Diego to go through those times, I think made the highs even higher. And for me, doing it the year before I retired, at least checked the box that I felt like I needed to before I was able to hang it up. So it's special to go through those moments. I remember in Dallas when we won the conference championship, I think it was Jake Gleason, Rodney Wallace, Diego Darlington, and myself all took a picture together. And it was like, we made it to an MLS Cup. Like, We've had some rough times, but we've stuck through it. Our fans have stuck through it, and now we have a chance to go win a championship, and we did.
Yeah.
And so for that group, I know it was extra special. Of course, it's special for everyone, and for some guys, they have different stories that they would probably tell. But I think for me, when I look back on those early years, they were great. I still have some unbelievable friendships, whether a guy had been here for 6 months or like Diego that, we played together for 6 years. There were some special moments. And some of the better stories that I tell about those years are when things were rough. But it makes 2015 and for Diego, I mean, even last year going to an MLS Cup, I'm sure even more special for him.
Yeah.
Let me walk you guys through that timeline that Jack was just talking about. You come here in 11. You guys both come here in 11. Pretty good year by expansion team standards. I think expectations were high. You almost met them. Stayed in the playoff race for much of the year. Then 2012, completely kind of bottom out there by the middle of the year. But then 2013, you rise even higher than most people expected. Looking back on that time and having to go through that roller coaster together, what are you going to remember most about the highs and lows that you guys had to manage during those first 3 years?
I think the I remember is the team never quit. I think it doesn't matter the result. We always try to do the best, and I think because of that, in 2013, we obviously was a different coach and a few different players. But I think because 2011-12, we did that kind of performance. I think that was the 2013 was better talking about results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd kind of piggyback what Diego's saying in terms of the one thing that we always had was a good locker room. That never changed, whether we were in the lows of the lows in 2012 or the highs of 13 and 15. We always had a group that was pretty tight-knit, that when we stepped across the white lines wanted to fight for each other. And, even in 2012 when we were out of it, didn't have much to play for, the end of the season we ended on a high, winning the Cascadia Cup, and more so for the fans than it wasn't going to help us in the standings or anything like that or change any of the coaching situations. Those were all pretty much done. But it kind of showed, it was a little bit of a tribute to us sticking together in that locker room and showing that we were all on the same page for sure that year.
You already talked about 2015 a little bit. You talked about Dallas. I wasn't with the team at the time, but I definitely remember like after Dallas, it already felt like an accomplishment. And then to go on to push on to the final and not only win, never trailed in that game. What is that going to mean for you guys to be able to share reaching that high? And not only that, like Jack said, it checked off a box in his career. And for you, that's the most you're going to do off of this adventure into the United States. It's the pinnacle. Mm-hmm. What kind of satisfaction did it give you to be able to say, I got that on this trip that I'm on right now?
That was amazing because, like I said before, we worked hard from 2011 to the 15 to have that award for the team. I think, like Jack mentioned, we always have a strong locker room, good chemistry, and I think that was the right award for us in that moment. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think for every player, the first one is forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because looking back on at least my career personally, my second year in KC, we won the Open Cup, made it to an MLS Cup final, and I was naive. I was 23 years old, and I'm like, I'm going to do this every year. I'm going to have a chance to win championships. This is pretty easy. I don't know what people are talking about. It's tough to win championships. And then you look, it took me 11 years to get back to a final. So for me, and I started the final in 2004. I barely remember anything of that game other than losing to DC. And so I never knew if I'd get back there with the group, and especially here, still a new team in 2015, new to the league, and feeling our way through things. in 2015 kind of came down to that last game, even in the regular season, to see we were going to fit in the playoffs. And then we went on a crazy run. And again, it was about a culture that we had created in that locker room with that staff, and we felt like we could beat anybody, and we did, and we went on a good run. But at that point in my career, I really soaked it in, and I didn't start the final. I came in the last few minutes to try to seal things up. But it's those experiences that you'll remember, the celebrations afterwards with all our teammates, the champagne stuff in the locker room. And then I think for Diego and I, the last thing we haven't really even touched on is, our daughters are the same age. They're buddies in the playroom during the game. They don't really watch the game. They just do dances and stuff together. But, I was just looking the other day at some of my photos from that game. Those are some of the best moments of my career, celebrating after the game with your teammates, of course, but with your family, because our daughters at that point, they would have been, 7 and 4 probably, somewhere around there? And maybe I'm just trying to believe this, but I think those are memories that they'll actually remember. And if they don't remember them, we have photos to show them later in their life. But those are special things that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to experience with their children. And for us to be able to do that, especially for me later on in my career, was made that year and everything with that team extra special.
I don't think you're looking at that from a selfish perspective at all. I think about that after every Thorns game where Mark Parsons' daughter gets to lead the North End in a chant.
Yeah.
And I almost embarrassed Mark last night by going up to him and going, do you realize you've given this to your daughter? She's going to remember this for the rest of her life, being able to do this. You've created an environment here where the whole team is buying into your daughter's happiness after these games.
Yeah,
win or lose, no matter what. Klingenberg is going with that rose and doing this chant. But that dovetails into the next question I want to ask you guys. Even from the outside, you can see the Timbers have a type of organization where a lot of guys stick around. Jack's one of the examples, but you look at every part of this organization. If you mean something to this organization, they're trying to get you to stick around. And then the kids hang out together. Sometimes out of trading, we have 7 kids out there, and then of course after the Thorns game. How much do you think your two styles of leadership, the people that you are, contributed to creating that culture?
You first.
You got silent. No one wants to take that one. I don't think either of us are going to try to take any credit for creating the culture or the environment that's happening here.
Are you being honest here, or are you being modest?
No, I'm being honest. I think that when we both came here in 2011, very few people were married. There were very few kids that were part of the team. I only had one kid when I first was traded. Wife was pregnant, and I'd say 2 years into that was kind of when we always did the victory lap thanking the fans, and then organically it just kind of happened where the kids would run out on the field, and that creates special moments. I get fans all the time that will come up to me and talk about, man, it's so unbelievable to see your kid and Chara's kid running out on the field after the game. You never think of it from that perspective, for fans to stick around for that moment to see and think that's extra special. But that stuff just happened, so there's no reason for us to try to take credit for that, even if we wanted to. Those were things that probably credit goes to our wives for coming down to the field, and they're letting the kids just hop the field boards in the LED, because that happened without us even knowing it. They just sprint out on the field, and then it became a thing. Now we had to calm them down, because half the time they probably didn't even know the result of the game, and they're hopping the boards, and we're pissed off that we lost a game. So there was a little coaching with the wives. Hey, if we tie and we score late, that's an okay result, right? But if we lose, then probably not. The kids come out, we're not happy. But no, I think that type of stuff creates a family and creates the culture that this club and this organization, and that's trickled down to the Thorns as well, as you mentioned with Mark Parsons and his daughter. It's funny, my daughters, at the end of my career, we'd go to the Thorns games when they started, and
they didn't care about Dad. They wanted to go to
they didn't care about Dad. Of course they didn't care about Dad, but they didn't even care about getting Timbers autographs. But when I told them, hey, we can go get some Thorns players autographed, the sparkle in their eyes, it's pretty amazing to see, that they look up to these players as role models as they are, but they could care less about getting any of the Timbers players autographed. Which
those
I think
guys
is
used to
cool.
play with Daddy. How special could they be?
That's not a big deal at all, for sure.
Diego, I'm not going to let you off. I just let Jack off there. I'm not going to let you off because you were the first person to come here and bring your family. You've obviously added to your family since you came here. Since you've came here, we've seen Valeri, Blanco, Larissa. It was very important having a place. Brian obviously has a family. If it didn't work with you, the other people wouldn't have come. So thinking about that, are you going to give me the same answer and say that you don't feel like you were important in establishing this culture?
I think similar because I can take the credit of that. I think after the game on the field, when the kids go to see Dad, I think that came natural. I think they want to be in front of the army and maybe clap, and they enjoy that. I think it's not. I know start that. I think that came natural.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give him a little credit.
Wait.
Because
so
here's the deal. It's a
you didn't contribute at all, but you're saying he did.
Yeah, it's not
okay.
But no, to be fair, and this is probably more credit to Gavin, to be quite honest, is that they understand the importance and what a big life change it is to bringing these players from another country into a city that they probably know nothing about. And so when you have a player and a leader like Diego that's here, established, loves the city, has raised a family here, feels comfortable, feels safe, it's only natural that they would, and I don't want to use the word use, but say, hey, this is the experience he's had. We want to connect you guys. You speak the same language, all these different things to bring guys in. And so I think, Chara and Valeri and Jorge and all these guys right down the line, there's something to be said about that. And obviously the game and the league is changing and it's getting more and more international. And the roster, if you look at it from 2011 to now, is completely flipped, right?
Right.
But that's a good thing, and that's a tribute to what we've shown here as a family and who we are and what this organization represents and the culture that's been created. And so, yeah, I'm definitely not taking any credit, but Chara should take a little bit of credit for that because he was kind of the first mover for the Timbers to come here to establish himself. And so it makes guys feel a little bit more at ease, and especially now with the group we have in the locker room, it helps when an agent or a player can see that there's multiple guys from his country that are there, that are comfortable. Maybe they connect, maybe they don't. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But it definitely doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Well, this is the last question I'll ask you guys, and it kind of covers some ground that we've already been on, but this is the type of question you're supposed to ask at the end of a podcast to loop back on things. You guys did play 6 years together. You guys helped establish the culture here. Even though you deny it, you guys helped establish the culture here. When you look back on 2011 to 2016, 10, 15, 20 years from now, when your kids are asking you, what was it like those first years in Portland? Jack, what are you going to tell them about the time you spent with Diego?
All the yellow cards. I'm going to tell them about the night before on the road when he'd come back. So we weren't roommates all the time, but we were roommates for a few games throughout the years when other guys would be suspended or players were hurt or whatever. Coming back to the room and he's got 6 chocolate chip cookies in his napkin.
The chocolate chip cookies.
It's incredible. I mean, I've got to watch my little spare tire that I've got going on these days for sure. But, I'd go 1 or 2 maybe. But this guy is incredible. But, hey, whatever it takes to get that engine going. But to me, it's more of that stuff than on the field. It's when he takes his braids out and his hair's flopping around and I'd make some jokes with him about stuff. It's that stuff that I'll remember. Of course, I'm going to remember him always having my back on the field, and if somebody kicked me, I knew that guy better watch out because I'm going to kick him, but Diego's also going to get him. So it's all those things, and it's the memories from the championship, and it's going to be in 2035 when we're celebrating the 20-year reunion of that team coming back, and who knows, maybe we're both still working here at the club, and we're working together in a different capacity.
Diego, I'll ask you the same question, but I have to ask first since Jack brought it up. what are the odds that we get one game without the braids? One game at some point. You go play an MLS game without the braided hair. Just what are the odds that we ever get to see that?
I can't do it.
You can't do it?
Yeah, I can do it.
Because every once in a while you come to training and we sit there and go,
special. It is
we sit
special.
there and go, please don't braid it this week. Please play this game.
I think we need the bobblehead, the Chara bobblehead with the hair out.
With the hair out. Or maybe with half of it braided, half of it out.
Yeah, I'm trying to do a couple times a year to rest a little bit, but I can play a game, official game, without the praise.
When he has his testimonial.
How about this? Yeah, either the testimonial if we do like a reunion game when you retire in like 12 years at 45.
12
Yeah, because he's still. I mean,
yeah.
you've got a lot of miles left on those legs, from what I can tell. So when he retires in what would that be? 2031, when we have our little reunion game, he'll wear his hair out.
With
Deal?
white hair.
Hey, I didn't say it.
So Diego, final question. The same thing I asked Jack. When you're 70, 75 years old, and all of your kids they're starting to find out about your career. They notice this time, first 6 years in Portland, and they ask you about that time. And they ask you about playing with this guy Jewsbury on the lineup sheet so many times. What are you going to tell them about that?
First of all, I would like to show the pictures we had from the particular moment when we won the cup. And I will say about to have the opportunity to play with Jack and to share the locker room. I think I learned to be respectful with everyone and be open to the new things in life. I think I learned that from Jack. Maybe he don't believe that, but I learned that.